Picture this. November 1930. A seasoned fur trapper, named Joe LaBelle. He's making his way to a familiar Inuit village nestled right beside the remote Angikuni Lake, up in the Canadian Arctic. And he's expecting to be greeted by, all the sounds of life, right? The smells of cooking, the sight of children playing. But instead, he finds an eerie silence. The village is completely deserted. No sign of a struggle, no indication of where the inhabitants went. Just empty homes and that unsettling feeling that something just isn't right. This is the story of the vanishing village of Angikuni Lake. It's a mystery that has baffled investigators. And it's captivated the public imagination for almost a century now. You might have heard snippets of this story, but today, we're diving deep. Separating fact from folklore, sifting through the evidence, all with the help of our expert.
It is the kind of mystery that just grabs you, isn't it? What makes it so compelling is that stark contrast between the normalcy of everyday life that LaBelle expected to find and this unsettling reality of a deserted village. Think about it. Food left half-cooked on fires. Tools abandoned mid-task. Personal belongings are scattered about, almost as if frozen in time.
Yeah, it paints a very vivid picture, doesn't it, of a community abruptly interrupted, like they vanished into thin air and left behind just a snapshot of their lives. You're right, that juxtaposition of the mundane and the mysterious, that's really what makes this story so chilling.
Exactly. And to add to the enigma, we have to consider the fate of the sled dogs. Now, these animals, they were vital to survival in this harsh environment, and yet they were found dead, buried under the snow. And here's the kicker, despite ample food nearby.
So they didn't starve.
Yeah.
I mean, that really eliminates the possibility of a planned migration, right? Who would leave behind their primary mode of transportation, especially in a place like that.
Precisely. And this seemingly insignificant detail throws a wrench into a lot of the initially plausible explanations. It underscores the suddenness, the unexpected nature of the event. And as if things weren't puzzling enough already, there's the matter of the disturbed graveyard.
Ah, yes, the graveyard. The RCMP investigation, they found several graves disturbed, yet no bodies were missing. Straight out of a horror movie. Why open the graves if not to take the bodies? What could possibly explain that?
This detail is particularly intriguing because it introduces that element of cultural beliefs. The Inuit people have, a complex cosmology, a very deep-rooted connection to the land and their ancestors. It's possible that the disturbance of these graves has a significance that's lost on us, something rooted in their spiritual practices, or maybe a response to a perceived threat within their own belief system.
That's a great point. I mean, we can't analyze this solely through a modern Western lens, can we? We have to consider the cultural context, especially in a community so deeply connected to their traditions and to their environment. So what did the RCMP conclude after their investigation?
Well, despite their efforts, they couldn't determine the cause of this disappearance, No footprints leading away from the village, no signs of struggle, no messages, no indication of where the villagers might have gone. Essentially, the case went cold, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions.
So officially, the book is closed on this case. But that hasn't stopped people from speculating, has it? I mean, over the years, numerous theories have surfaced, some more plausible than others, trying to explain the unexplainable.
Exactly. And it's these theories that we'll be exploring next, right? Delving into the realm of the possible, the improbable, and the downright bizarre, all in an attempt to make sense of this mystery of the vanishing village.
This is where it gets really interesting. Let's start with what we might call the rational theories, the ones that attempt to explain the disappearance through natural or social phenomena.
Okay. One of the most common explanations is that the villagers were forced to flee due to a sudden and unforeseen threat. Perhaps a natural disaster like an avalanche or a particularly harsh winter storm, or even, a predatory animal that was unusually aggressive or abundant.
Okay, that makes sense. But wouldn't a mass exodus like that leave some trace? Even in a harsh, snowy environment, shouldn't there be at least some evidence of their departure?
See, that's the conundrum, and it's that lack of evidence that fuels the fire for these more unconventional theories. Remember, we're talking about a remote community, that's deeply in tune with their environment. They were accustomed to harsh winters, and their very survival depended on being able to anticipate and adapt to these environmental challenges.
Right, so what you're saying is if anyone would know how to handle a sudden snowstorm, or a hungry pack of wolves, it would be these villagers, which makes their sudden and complete disappearance even more baffling. So if not a natural threat, then what else could have prompted them to leave so abruptly?
Well, Some have theorized that maybe they were faced with some kind of social or interpersonal conflict that forced them to relocate. Maybe a feud with a neighboring tribe or an internal dispute, even possibly the fear of persecution.
So essentially a situation that made staying in the village untenable. It's possible, but again, you'd think there'd be at least some trace, some whisper of such a conflict reaching the outside world.
Exactly. And that's precisely what makes this mystery so enduring. It challenges our conventional understanding of human behavior and motivations. It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge and to consider the possibility that we may never fully grasp the forces at play that night.
Okay, so we've explored the more rational explanations, the potential natural threats, the social conflicts. But let's be honest, those explanations only take us so far. What about the more, shall we say, unconventional theories? The ones that venture into the realm of the paranormal, the extraterrestrial, and even government conspiracies.
Ah, yes, those are the theories that tend to capture the imagination, aren't they? They offer a sense of intrigue and mystery that the more mundane explanations simply can't match.
Exactly, and I think that's what draws us to this story. The fact that it remains unsolved, it defies easy explanation and allows our minds to wander, to explore possibilities that we might otherwise just dismiss. It's like a blank canvas upon which we can project our own fears, fascinations, and interpretations of the unknown.
I think that's the true power of the Angikuni Lake mystery. It's not just about a vanished village, it's about our human need to make sense of the world around us, even when faced with the inexplicable.
Before we delve into those out there theories, let's pause here for a moment and consider another key piece of the puzzle, the historical and cultural context of the Angikuni Lake region.
Absolutely. To fully appreciate the mystery, we need to understand the people who inhabited this remote and unforgiving landscape. The Inuit people have lived in the Arctic for thousands of years, and their culture is deeply intertwined with the land, the seasons, and the spirits that they believe inhabit the natural world.
So they have a rich oral tradition, a deep connection to their ancestors, and a spiritual worldview that might be quite different from our own.
Precisely. And this is where some of the more fantastical explanations for the disappearance start to take root.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. What are some of the stories or beliefs that might shed light on this mystery?
Well, for instance, there are tales of the Kalupalik. It's a creature that lives in the sea ice and lures unsuspecting humans to a watery grave. Or the Tornit, which are powerful spirits of the land who can be both benevolent and vengeful. These stories, while mythical to our modern ears, were very real to the Inuit people. They served as warnings, explanations for the unexplainable, and a way to navigate the challenges of life in the Arctic.
So it's important to consider these beliefs not as mere superstition, but as a window into a different way of understanding the world, a way that might hold clues to what happened at Angikuni Lake.
Exactly. And that's what makes this story so fascinating. It sits at the intersection of documented history, cultural beliefs, and that enduring human desire to find meaning in the face of the unknown. It's like trying to piece together a puzzle where some of the pieces are missing and the ones we do have might not even belong to the same picture.
That's a great analogy. So with that in mind, let's step into the realm of the out there theories, the ones that kind of reach beyond the realm of conventional explanations.
Okay, buckle up. First, we have the theory of alien abduction. I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction. In the 1930s, when news of this Angikuni Lake disappearance first emerged, there were reports from other trappers in the region of strange lights in the sky around the same time. So this fueled speculation that perhaps something extraterrestrial was afoot.
So while alien abduction might not have been as popular a concept back then as it is today, those unexplained lights certainly provided fodder for the imagination. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if those trappers saw something truly extraordinary?
It's certainly a tantalizing thought. And it speaks to a broader human tendency, I think, to seek extraordinary explanations for events that just defy our understanding, as if our minds naturally gravitate toward the fantastical when the mundane fails to provide answers.
It's like we need a narrative, a story that makes sense of the chaos, even if that story involves beings from another planet.
Yeah.
Speaking of narratives, there's another theory that's gained traction in more recent years, the government cover-up.
Ah, yes, the ever-popular conspiracy theory. This one suggests that perhaps the villagers stumbled upon something the government wanted to keep secret, a top-secret military experiment gone wrong, maybe a hidden facility, or even contact with extraterrestrials that they were trying to hush up.
That's the kind of theory that really gets the gears turning, isn't it? I mean, the government has been known to keep secrets, especially when it comes to matters of national security. And the remoteness of Angikuni Lake would certainly provide an ideal location for clandestine activities.
Exactly. And that lack of conclusive evidence from the RCMP investigation only adds fuel to the fire. Some might interpret the official dismissal of the case as an attempt to suppress information, to sweep the whole incident under the rug.
It's like a real-life X-Files episode unfolding in the frozen wilderness. So we've got these out-there theories, each more intriguing than the last. But let's be honest with ourselves. Even the most elaborate theories can't erase the fact that we're dealing with a profound human mystery. Real people vanished. They left behind their lives, their families, their stories.
That's an essential point to remember. As captivating as these theories may be, they can sometimes distract us from the human element at the heart of this story. These weren't just characters in a mystery novel, they were individuals, members of a community whose disappearance left a void that echoes through generations.
It's a reminder that even in our quest to understand the unknown, we should never lose sight of the human impact of these events. So we've explored the rational, the fantastical, and the downright conspiratorial. But the question remains, what truly happened at Angikuni Lake?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the truth is, we may never know for certain. We're left with a collection of clues, interpretations, and theories, but no definitive answers.
Which, in a way, makes the story even more compelling. It invites us to engage our own critical thinking skills, to weigh the evidence, to consider different perspectives, and to draw our own conclusions.
Exactly. And that, I think, is one of the most valuable aspects of exploring mysteries like this. They challenge us to question, to investigate, to remain open to the possibility that there are things in this world that we may never fully understand.
And perhaps that's okay. Maybe the true value lies not in finding a definitive answer, but in the journey of exploration, in the process of grappling with the unknown, and recognizing the limits of our own understanding.
It's a humbling reminder that despite all of our technological advancements and scientific discoveries, there are still vast unknowns out there, mysteries that continue to baffle and intrigue us.
And the Angikuni Lake disappearance is a prime example of that. It's a story that captures our imagination, sparks debate, and ultimately leaves us with more questions than answers. But perhaps that's the point. Maybe it's not about finding a neat and tidy solution, but rather embracing the mystery, acknowledging the limits of our knowledge, and appreciating the enduring power of a good story.
I couldn't agree more. The Angikuni Lake disappearance serves as a reminder that the world is a vast and mysterious place, full of wonder, beauty, and yes, even the unexplained.
So what does this all mean for us, the listeners? Why should we care about a vanished village in the Canadian Arctic nearly a century ago?
Because it reminds us that the world is full of stories, both told and untold. Stories that challenge our perceptions, spark our curiosity, and invite us to explore the boundaries of what we think we know.
It's a call to embrace the unknown, to question, to investigate, and to never stop seeking answers, even when those answers remain elusive.
And who knows, maybe someday new evidence will come to light, shedding new light on the mystery of Angikuni Lake. But until then, the story continues to captivate us, prompting us to ponder the enduring power of the unexplained.
It's a reminder that even in our modern world, with all of its technology and information, there are still corners of the map, moments in time that remain shrouded in mystery.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Those unsolved mysteries remind us that we don't have all the answers, that there's still so much we just don't know about our world, about history, about ourselves.
It keeps us humble, keeps us curious. So as we wrap up our deep dives into this Angikuni Lake disappearance, we want to leave you with one final thought, a question to ponder. Imagine just for a moment that you are tasked with investigating this case. Where would you even start? What would be your first step?
Would you pore over those RCMP reports, searching for overlooked clues? Do you travel to Angikuni Lake yourself, hoping to feel some lingering presence, some echo of the past? Or would you delve into the Inuit oral histories, seeking answers in their legends and beliefs?
Would you try to track down descendants of the vanished villagers, hoping to piece together those fragments of family lore, stories passed down through generations? Or would you focus on the scientific evidence, analyzing soil samples, weather patterns, anything that might offer a tangible explanation?
The possibilities are endless, right? And that's what makes this mystery so captivating. It's an open invitation to explore, to question, to imagine.
And I think that's the true legacy of the Angikuni Lake disappearance. Not just a cold case, a forgotten footnote in history. It's a living mystery, a story that continues to resonate, to spark our curiosity, and to remind us of the vastness of what we don't know.
It reminds us that the world is full of stories, some complete, some fragmented, some lost entirely. And sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that leave us with more questions than answers.
So the next time you look up at the night sky or find yourself in a remote corner of the world, remember the village of Angikuni Lake. Remember the mystery that lingers there, the stories whispered on the wind, and the enduring power of the unexplained. Because sometimes the most valuable lessons are found not in the answers, but in the questions that remain.